Yo, what's going on, kings and queens? It's your boy Chaz Jackson coming back to you once again, representing GNG Gift and a Gift. Hey, just want to take the time to tell you thank you for giving me your eyes, ears once again as we get ready to dive deep into some inspiration that I pray will plant like a seed in your mind and assist you in becoming a greater version of yourselves. And if you've listened to this live stream podcast before, you know that our motto is we are all gifted differently to make a difference. And you difference makers that's tuning in with us right now, I want you guys to go ahead, like this, share it out, comment, get anyone in front of this camera that you feel will be able to benefit from this champion of a speaker that we got on here as we get ready to continue to dive deep into our topic on Summer Soldier series, in which we're talking about how we can equip young black males on their journey through the battlefield of injustice. And we're going to dive more deep into it with my man, E-Man. He's going to bring it. I'm telling you, get your pen and your paper ready. There's going to be some great value that's going to be poured out, led by God. And before we even dive into his short bio, we're going to get this rolling. I want to give the mission of his platform, and it's to provide tips and techniques for young men as they continue to go on their path of personal growth. And I challenge them as well as myself, and I challenge you, difference maker, who's listening to us right now, to work towards becoming a passionate visionary who is determined to leave a legacy for themselves by adopting unwavering life values and serving others in an area of gifting led by God. Because I truly believe that each and every one of us have a purpose, and we have a gift, a different gift that's supposed to make a difference in your area. So I'm going to read off this real quick on my man E-Man. Emanuell Sloan is a military and pastor's kid originally from Fayetteville, North Carolina. He developed an interest in football and track at an early age. He went on to earn an opportunity to play at the collegiate level. After 1 year, he transferred to Liberty University, where he earned a degree and developed a passion for score, dunk, and music. Now married with a kid on the way, he enjoys serving at Biltmore Church as a student worship pastor and coaching young men in football and personal growth. I'm honored and blessed to be on this episode with this giant right here. E-Man, you are live on GNG live stream. Are you ready, champion?
Let's get it, baby. Let's get it.
Is there anything that I missed or you want to add to that introduction?
Nah, man, you hit it, bro. You hit it. I'm so honored to be on here with you. This is it, man. This is where life change happens. Talking about the things that are so important for our next generation of young men. So yeah, I'm pumped, man. Thank you so much for having me, man. And it's wild. There are so many different expressions. There's so many different emotions that I've felt in the last 3 weeks that I've never felt before, man. Like, first and foremost, it breaks my heart to see what happened to George Floyd, man. Like that evil at its finest, darkness at its finest, racism at its finest. I mean, the list goes on. I can remember when I first seen the video. Ironically, it was the day that I heard my child's heartbeat for the first time. So it was a really good day, and it's like I hear the beginning pieces of life for an individual, and then I witness the ending of a life for an individual, all in one day. So as you can imagine, it's a lot. It was a lot of emotion that day. But man, like it's been put into so many different perspectives for me in this stage of life, because now I'm married. Not only am I married, but I'm married to a white woman, and we're about to have a mixed child. And so you factor all those things in, I have to process differently. You know, I have to see this ugly thing called racism in another worldview for myself, because I've never been 28. I've never been fully employed at this state of my life like I am. I've never been married and have to walk another person through the hurt and pain of dealing with all the crap going on right now. And then you add in the new aspect of thinking of, I'm about to be a father. I'm about to bring a child into all this. So, bro, like, long story short, man, it's been a heavy 3 weeks. But, you know, at the end of it, God doesn't call us to live in fear. And, you know, in weak times like this, God will show himself strong. He's faithful. He's sovereign. He knows what he's doing. I don't think it's coincidence that something like this happened when God decided to slow everything down. I don't think it's coincidence at all.
Not a coincidence at all. Not a coincidence at all. And I relate to you a lot. I'm married to a white woman. I have 2 mixed daughters, bringing them up in all of this. And we kind of shared off the camera how, for me, there's like 2 animals inside of me. There's a lion and there's a sheep.
Yeah.
And it's like the lion inside of me, you know, is angry, is frustrated, is sad, is scared. It wants to lash out to the first person that says anything wrong, or the one incident that I maybe see that I want to take action on. There's something to just to, you know, influence this or fulfill this craving, if that makes sense, of that line. But, you know, us being in a position where we have other people dependent on us, when we have, for me, you know, I have my 2 daughters, I have my wife that's dependent on me to make, you know, wise decisions, depending on me to show them how to become stronger versions of themselves, and how, you know, to go further in this life that we live in, you know, even though there's a lot of chaos, a lot of storms, but showing them how to be a light during these times. And for me, you know, it's me bringing that sheep forward, you know, letting that sheep be there. And, you know, that's what inspired me to even do this series, is what can we do during these times to develop some solutions during a problem? What can we do? And again, not taking anything lightly what's going on. I mean, all this is serious business with Brother Floyd. I mean, not taking any of that stuff lightly, but how can we equip our young Black men, you know, when they're put in this situation? What can we provide as far as education to put ourselves in the best interest to make it home? You know what I mean? Have to get home and be able to share our experiences and be able to, you know, fulfill and make our family safe. But it's interesting. So I know on the intro that I was reading, sword dump. That's interesting to me, man. And I know after looking at one of your interviews, you know, SOAR was actually meaning sold out and ready. And I remember one of your interviews, you mentioned how, you know, before you would go and do dunks, you would say, I can do all things. I can do all things. And that would repeat in your mind, like as whenever you was, you know, in that field at Liberty University. So, like, coming from the mindset of that, and you put yourself back, you know, in a high school or something like that, carrying on that affirmation that you were saying with the knowledge that you have right now, what would you tell yourself to be successful during this time that we're going through in 2020?
I would tell myself to listen. I think my tendency when I was back in high school was I love to run my mouth. I'm a very passionate individual. And so when it comes to that, especially when I was growing up, I would be more prone to react and quickly react. Case in point, me being a competitive athlete, you say something to me, it's not going to take me but 0.5 seconds to respond to you. Verbally, especially verbally. I was a trash talker for sure. My dad used to get on me so bad when we were playing. Like, oh, just shut up and play. Quit talking. But that's the biggest thing, man. Like, I would tell myself to listen. To listen, keep your eyes open, keep your head on a swivel. Pay attention to what's going on around you a little bit more. Take it in, digest it, then respond. The Bible speaks about that. It says, "Be quick to listen, slow to anger."
Amen.
So, that was one of my downfalls in high school. I wasn't quick to listen. I was quick to respond, and I was quick to get angry. And so that's huge, man, because there are a lot of young especially black men in high school, that's their mentality. They know it all. They gonna tell you who's right, who's wrong, who ain't, and that's it. They don't want to hear anything you have to say. They've got their mind made up. They already know who's with them and who's against them, and they're going to be passionately vocal about that. And so, not that that's wrong, but there's a time and a place for it. And so, in order to affect the change that you want to see or be the change that you want to see, you gotta open your ears and listen. It'll get you a whole lot further than bumping gums, man. I mean, you see people radiate throughout history that had big mouths.
Right.
And whereas they made huge change for this world, they endured a lot of hardship. And so my mom would always tell me, boy, if you would just hush and listen, you wouldn't have to get in trouble as much as you do, because you'd be able to navigate some of these things without getting your butt tore up.
Yeah, I definitely remember the conversation with my mom for sure.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, my grandma was the one. She would make you go get the switch. She'd be like, "Go out there and get a switch." I made a point to bring back a little switch one time. Man, that was the worst decision I ever made. Like, think about them little switches; they don't break. So it was like,
not to mention it's worse when they start breaking.
Oh, most definitely. Yeah, listen, I'm definitely hearing that, and I agree with that, because I heard it said once, you have two ears and one mouth for a reason. You know, and that's a sense of, you learn more when you listen and asking questions. And when thinking about listening, I know you're a musical guru, you're a musical man. How many instruments do you actually play?
I successfully play one. I'm a drummer at heart. I've been playing drums since I was 3.
Okay.
So I'm now, so that's a long time. I dabble on keys. I started to learn the acoustic guitar. I've still not successfully learned it to be efficient on the acoustic guitar, and I sing. So not many, but I try to dabble in a little bit of everything.
Hey, you do your thing. You've been humble. I know, and you're brilliant at what you do. You always have the church congregation pre-COVID-19. It was you always did your thing on stage. I always enjoyed watching you perform, and with your music background, we know music in a whole, like in this country or the world, that's like the one platform where all races, all ages can actually come together and agree on is music, because music is that feel good deal, right? It releases dopamine in your brain for more of a neural type deal. And that's the same feel good that you feel when you eat or you have sex or whatever the case may be. And from a music standpoint, it could either be, proactive, bringing people together, bringing unity, or it can be a reactive and a negative thing, right? And obviously, we're talking about, the black male, and in music, most black people, we listen to hip hop, rap, right?
Yeah.
I mean, I know I love it myself, but there's also, rappers out there that's creating a bad image, if you will. Not everybody. There's some good stuff out there, but there's some actors out there let's be honest, they're role playing, they're acting, they're not really living that life, what they're promoting, the fast life. And in my opinion, that fast life leads to fast death, if that makes sense. Financially, economically, emotionally, we can draw the line and fill in the blank, right? And our young people, they're listening to this stuff, right? They're listening to it and it's filling their brain, and they're reacting off of what they're listening to. So where I'm getting at with this is, in your opinion, with your musical background, how can we encourage like our young people to get to a place where they're listening? Because you mentioned earlier, like a lot of our young people, they do things based on their own accord. They're not really listening, but to advice not to listen to certain things. But how can you, get what type of encouragement can you give involving you listening but not becoming what you're listening to, as far as those actors, those role players that's promoting violence, if that makes sense?
Yeah. The easiest way I know how to describe it is everything has its time and everything has its place. And so where music is concerned, and I know this is far easier for guys than girls because we compartmentalize. One of my mentors once explained it to me as a guy's brain is kind of like a waffle. You look, because you look at the waffle and you see the different compartments of squares. And if you're weird like me, sometimes when I eat waffles and I don't have a fork, I just put the little droplets of syrup in the little squares and compartmentalize it and then fold it together. That way I can get as much sweet as I'm ready for. Wow. How I devour it. I know it's weird, but
I think I like that before, but that's true.
But when you listen to music, especially for those of us that are athletes, your pregame music is not your everyday listening to music. You need something that's going to help you focus and get in the zone. Whereas the music that you listen to when you're trying to settle yourself is not going to be what you listen to when you get ready to go take a run. It's just different. Now, obviously, you do have some correlations and crossovers, but even still, you got to compartmentalize. You know, certain things are for certain things. Now, if I'm going through a trying time in my life, case in point, walking through COVID and George Floyd and Breonna Taylor and all this racial stuff that's going on, to be candid, I haven't really listened to a bunch of contemporary Christian music. Not to say that it's bad and not to say that it wouldn't soothe my soul, but that's just not the headspace that I'm in. You know, I need something that's going to speak is really going to speak to where I'm at. And I've been bumping a lot of Lecrae, a lot of Andy, Joey Vontaze, Gavi, stuff that it's got a nice verse, got a nice beat, got a nice hook. And it speaks to where I'm at, because I'm not going to lie to you, man. All of this quarantine stuff plus all this racial stuff has unfortunately afforded me the emotions of rigidity, just being rigid and harsh. And it's hard to be in a peaceful place when there's chaos around you. I'm going to be the first one to tell you, I'm not Jesus. I'm not Jesus. I know Jesus experienced all emotions, but he is the only individual that I could even think of in the moment that I know could be calm, cool, and collected when everything's raging. I mean, you look at when he was asleep on the boat and the disciples were tripping because everything was raging around him. And they woke him up and said, hey, I need you to calm the waves. And he's like, oh, you have little faith. What are you doing?
Right.
And so literally he is the epitome of that. I'm far away from that. I'm so far away from that. Like, if everything around me is going crazy, like my brain and my heart and my emotions are like, yo, I'm off. My equilibrium is off emotionally. I got to listen to something that captures what I'm feeling.
Right.
You know what I mean? Yeah. And so that, I know that was a roundabout way of answering it, but honestly, man, it's compartmentalizing what you're feeling. But I would even encourage whoever's listening, when it comes to music, be careful, because the things that you do listen to are the things that you will ascribe to. The things that, like, what you intake in your ears. The perfect example of that, and I like using word pictures of things that I've experienced. So my wife, shout out to you, baby. I know you're watching. She is a words person. She is all words. That is like her top love language, words of affirmation. So from the words that I speak to the words that people speak to her and the words that she hears, that determines her state of mind. That determines what mood she's going to be in. That determines her perspective. It feeds a lot. Some of us are like that, and some of us aren't as much like that, but we're all human beings and we all feed off of words. And so all that to say, when you're listening to blank this and blank that, and I'm gonna go do this, and I'm gonna sling this, and I'm gonna sleep with this, and I'm gonna get with this chick, and I'm gonna do her friend, and this is that and the other. What do you expect yourself to do? You know what I'm saying? When you're saying, I'm gonna go blank him up, or I'm gonna do this, or I'm gonna smoke this, or I'm gonna drink this, or we gonna do this, we gonna turn up. What do you expect? And a lot of people don't realize that, man, I don't know where this urge is coming from. Well, what do you expect? You're feeding your mind and your soul the message of these things that are essentially rooted in evil.
Right.
You're wondering why you're having these cravings and these urges to do evil things. Now, when you put yourself in a place and you're listening to positive, uplifting things, and you're surrounding yourself with people that are speaking life into you and not death into you, it's, you know what I'm saying? All that to say, it's vitally important that you monitor what you're listening to, especially when you're listening to it. I wouldn't listen to a specific genre of music when I'm at the lowest of lows, because I know that's going to keep me down there. It's going to cause me to do things that I probably shouldn't do.
Most definitely. You said a lot of gold right there. You said a lot of gold. Again, I hope whoever's listening to this got your pen and paper. He covered a lot there. And one of the biggest things two big things. One of them was that you said we tend to compartmentalize things. So when we're in a certain mood, that's what we gravitate to, that music. And for me, I agree with that. You do, when you're angry, you want to listen to something angry. If you're happy, you tend to want to listen to something happy. And I think the times where you're frustrated, sad, anxious, being self-aware of what it can do, like you mentioned earlier, how, if you continue to focus on a certain thing and you repeatedly play the same music over and over again, for some reason, NWA, F the Police popped in my head, right? So if I continuously listen to that every single day and then I run into a police officer, I mean, the way I react to him is going to be different, right? Versus, if I listen to something else outside of that type of language. So really understanding what you focus on grows. What you focus on grows. And I'm with you before when you were saying, like, depending on if you're working out or you're running or what type of feed you're looking at, that the music actually helps boost you and again help give you that feel good. So there's all kind of modes or personalities that you can have that requires a certain type of music. But you really hit it on the money of being self-aware of what you're listening to and understand what it will do, if you continue to listen to it. And I truly believe that you will, if you are self-aware, again, as far as the lessons and listening, you will be less aptable to become, that figure that you're not wanting to become, if that makes sense.
And I would even go to the length of saying, like, that's a concept that a lot of young people nowadays miss, being self-aware of what's going on, of what you're feeling, of what's going on around you, of the things going on around you. Our society and our culture, because of very many different variables, have trained our young people and the next generation to be so naive. Like, the way we were raised, there was just a sense of how to and ingenuity and street smarts that was instilled in us. Like, just go get it. You got to go get it, but you got to be aware of what's going on around you. Even like you said, I came from a military background. My dad was in the military for 26 years. And little things like, son, you always need to have your wallet with your ID on you, whether it's around your neck when I was little or it's in your back pocket. No ifs, ands, or buts. Or you need to constantly have your head on a swivel to make sure you see who's around you, because if something pops off, you're going to need to know where your exit is. You're going to need to know who's the culprit, who's in trouble, who needs help. You need to be able to keep a calm, cool, collective head, because you've either been here before or this is a part of your training, and now you're not caught off guard and freeze up and you don't know what to do to get yourself out of a bind. And so I feel like our next generation, there are a select few that are good in that way and pay attention to those things. But there are so many young people that are so naive and so ill-guided because their self-awareness factor or their self-awareness muscles are lacking. They're lacking. Like especially knowing, let's take, for example, so like you said, I coach football at AC Reynolds, right? And so there'll be times where I've spent time in the classroom first thing in the morning, and for whatever reason, when we were growing up, Pledge of Allegiance comes on, we all stand whether you like it or not. Put your hand over your heart, cross your hands behind your back, whatever, but being respectful of what's being presented, right? I'm in this classroom, and I think of a classroom of 25, about 6 people stood up.
Wow.
And so I'm sitting here, and I was like, hey, can I ask your kids a question? He's like, yeah, go for it. And so I was like, hey, just curious. I'm not trying to chastise you, but what, for those of y'all that didn't stand, why? They couldn't tell me why.
Wow.
They couldn't tell me why.
That's crazy.
They were like, I don't know. I don't know. Kind of, I guess I didn't feel like it, but I don't know. And so for me, I'm like, man, y'all need to think about that, because here you are and you're repeating something that you saw, not knowing the reason and why people are not standing for the national anthem. And so those are little things that, if they're not careful, will put them in a place that they never intended to be in the first place.
Right.
It all comes with the concept of, I must be self-aware and educate myself to know the things that I stand for and the things that I will stand against, so that I'm not taken for a sucker. You know what I mean?
Yeah, exactly. And it's pretty much like they're gravitating their identity based off of something that they've seen on TV or in a magazine, on social media, not necessarily sitting back and asking themselves those questions of, why am I doing this? Really getting authentic with themselves. And obviously that goes into, attire, right? I mean, I know I mentioned like hip hop, rap music. We have our minority of good artists that's promoting, growth and, good ideals. And then you have those that's, more on the upscale. But let's be honest, like, they pose with the jewelry, with the clothes, with the whole 9 yards. And a lot of our young kids, they're picking up on that attire, right? And I mean, and I'll be honest, I did it myself. I still do it in a way. But I know on the panel, Biltmore panel, you did a phenomenal job on there, you as well as the other speakers. You really covered on how you was weaponized because of your skin color.
Yeah.
And can you talk a little bit about like what that means to you and how you overcome being weaponized for your skin color? Because again, kind of going back with that scenario with the hip hop artists and our kids seeing that hip hop artists, they're doing the things that they're seeing on TV, but at the same time, other parties are looking at this individual as, weaponized. So, what are your thoughts on that?
The weaponizing of my skin color. So the basis of that thought comes from, so the question was, if I remember correctly, what do I endure that white people don't? And so my answer was the weaponizing of my skin color. And so that the basis of that being, as soon as you see me, you're afraid of me because of whatever stereotypes that you were taught to see me, or whatever lens that you were taught to see me. And so for many years, not only was I taught this, but I put myself in a position to try to change myself, to disalarm myself to certain people. So you might think like, man, what does that look like? So that means wearing skinnier jeans. That means wearing Chelsea boots. That means wearing Toms, V-necks, cardigans, avoiding having my ears pierced or tattoos or having long hair, always being clean cut, clean shaved. Sidebar, I love to stay clean cut, clean shaved, regardless of whether my hair is long or not. That's one of my biggest standards for myself. I never want to leave the house looking like a bum. That's just how I was raised. And so if God gave me the opportunity and the gifting to be able to cut my own hair and shape myself up successfully and skillfully, I'm going to do it. I'm going to do it as much as I need. But going back to what I was saying, I did these things to disalarm myself, frankly put, to white people. So they wouldn't see me as the ghetto gangbanger that's slinging dope, that's on the corner, that's sexually active and potentially impregnating women left and right and not taking care of my business, or simply put, to be associated with the gang. My parents did not want that life for me. Not to say that that's where my mom came from or my dad came from, but they wanted a better life for us. So they put us in places and in circles with people that didn't look like us, so we knew that there was a better life out there for us. And so, but even then that, I got to a point in my life, especially like in the last 5 years, where I got so tired. I got so tired of feeling like that I had to try so hard to disalarm myself and be somebody that I was not. And so, honestly, it didn't really click until one of my best friends in this whole wide world, his name is Daquan Akiri, one of the closest dudes.
That's the man.
He is a perfect example of being unashamedly you, unapologetically you. I'm going to be who I am, whether I'm in front of white people, Spanish people, Asian people, black people, it don't matter. I'm going to be me. I'm going to dress like me. I'm going to talk like me. But you're going to know that I am firm in who God called me to be and who I am and who he made me to be, regardless of whether you like it or not. And I frankly don't care if you like it or not. And so once I met him and I started kicking with him and, we became close, God really used him to recapture my attention on who I am. Identity is a thing that I've always struggled with. Coming from a military background where you've got the opportunity to travel the world and be around so many different people, it's hard to remember where you came from because you go so many places and around so many different people. And so, he really encouraged me. He's like, hey, man, bruh, be who God called you to be. There's only one E.
I like that. I love it.
And so that's where, even leading up to this, I not that I was ashamed of my ink, but I stopped getting ink for a while because I'm like, man, they're gonna think I'm affiliated because they just see ink. They don't even stop to see what it is or even ask for that matter. But I continued getting ink. I re-pierced my ears. I started wearing a chain again with a pendant on it. Even in the last year, I've grown my hair out as long as it is now. I've never done it before, but I have braids. And I would even unfortunately be able to say, since I've had braids and re-pierced my ears, people look at me completely different.
Yeah.
And it's wild. It's wild. And so that's what it's like, and to be to have your identity weaponized. But honestly, man, whatever young man is watching this, know that God strategically made you. He didn't make you to be anyone else's image but his. And so knowing that you don't have to look or dress a certain way to disalarm yourself for anyone else. First of all, God will do that for you. Secondly, that person that would throw you in a stereotype, they need heart surgery anyway. So why waste your time exhausting yourself to be something you're not? I love wearing J's. It is what it is. They're costly.
Yeah.
But I love wearing J's. I haven't, as you see my shoe collection, I haven't.
Yeah, I love it. I love it. I love it.
That's a part of who I am. I rock my tats with pride. I rock my earrings and my jewelry and everything that I wear, my braids and everything. I rock it with pride because I'm unashamedly, unapologetically me, because that's who God created me to be. And so once you obtain that mindset and have that perspective, you kind of take the bullets out of their chambers to weaponize who you are, because you're so confident in who you are. Their stereotypes and their preconceived notions about you are meaningless. Not to say that they influence you in any kind of in a little kind of way, because yeah, it's hurtful. If somebody called me a thug, we have a problem. I'm not a thug. I'm an educated young black man that loves Jesus and loves to reach and love on people. That's just, I don't ascribe to that lifestyle. I know people that ascribe to that lifestyle, and that's cool, fine, and great. But that's not me. So I'm not going to be defined by who you think I am. I know who I am.
I love it. Champion mode. Beast in it. I
Yes,
love
sir.
it. I love it. I love it. I love it. And I love how you was able to transform and it just become your greatest version, authentically accepting yourself 100% because that's what it takes. Is what it takes. And because I feel personally, because you was able to do that, you were able to love even more and
Oh,
be able to
yeah.
shine your light even more in situations where God is calling you to. Just like this on this show, I'm telling you, somebody listening to this right now and took something from it, and it's going to change their life. So you killed it, man. Thank you so much for diving deep on that. And let's go back to this soar. Let's go back to soar, sold out and ready. I really
Yeah.
like that whole concept. How did y'all come up with that? Was that?
Oh, man. So I hope I don't botch this because it's been a long time since I talked about this. But way back in the early 2000s, there were a group of guys that put together this team to jump off trampolines, and they needed a name. And they were like, well, we're soaring through the air. Our mission is to really captivate people, to share Jesus with them. So we're going to be sold out for Jesus, and we're ready to do it. You know what I mean? And so that's roughly where the name came from. But over the years, it's grown into something so big, being that we, like, when I say we, obviously I'm not on the team anymore, but, you know, it's like a brotherhood. You know, we go out, do shows, jump on trampolines, act a fool, make people laugh, make people ooh and ah for the sake of captivating their attention to share Jesus Christ with them. Because where else can you go to see dudes jumping off a trampoline and doing
Could you still
flips?
do it today? Could you
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. My wife was like, "Man, you're too old." Like, nah. And she was like gone to a show when I think they came here like a year or two ago, and I've actually in the last year done shows with them. No, that's right. I did a show with them in February before we went on our anniversary trip. And before I went on, my wife was like, "Hey, you sure you still got it?" So we got it. And for her surprise and mine, I actually am better now than when I was on the team.
Mm.
And so, yeah, man, all that to say, yeah, anytime, obviously pre-COVID, but anytime they were in the vicinity of North Carolina or within a few hours driving distance, like, y'all hit me up. I'm there. I'm in. So
I love it. I love it. I love it. And this is where I'm going with this. So when I hear sold out and ready, the sold out part meaning that you're really intentional about what you're doing. You guys had to be really focused and really intentional about jumping on those trampolines, the way that you was landing, the body mechanics, the posture, everything had to be on point and ready. I mean, you had to go, and like you were saying before, whenever you kind of do the affirmation in your head, let go and have faith. And this is the question. So for that young black male that's looking right now, what last words of encouragement can you give them as they're striving towards being sold out towards their dreams, their goals, their ambitions, educating themselves with what's going on in the country and being ready. So being sold out and ready, what do you got to share? Last thing.
um, I'd say I think it's multifaceted. I say number one, first and foremost, um, when being sold out, you're sold out to Jesus Christ and Jesus Christ alone. But a common misconception is that E-Man's faith is supposed to look like Chaz's faith. E-Man's faith is supposed to look like Pastor Bruce's faith. The biggest thing that I struggled with growing up and being a pastor's kid was the fear that if my faith didn't look like my mom's or my dad's or my pastor's or my brothers or my sisters, that I wasn't real. And I struggled with that, and it essentially pushed me to rebel and not want it at all. because I'm like, man, it looks like that boring stuff, that KJV faith.
Yeah.
I don't want it because that's not me. That's played. I don't want it. And so all that to say, man, like, not only be completely sold out to Jesus, but know that your faith is going to be between you and your creator, and it's going to look different from person to person, and that's okay. That's okay. Your quiet time is not going to look like my quiet time. Your prayer life is not going to look like my prayer life. Conceptually, it's going to be the same because we're called to do those things, but it's not going to look the same. Like if we had the same T-shirt, you're not gonna rock a large, bro. I mean, you GQ slow.
I guess it depends on the kind of story. No, I need an XL. No, I need an XL.
You gotta throw on an XL and still make it look like a medium. You know what I mean? So, but if I throw on an XL, I look like I have on a big old blanket. You know what I mean? Because I'm not. First of all, I'm 5'8". Secondly, I'm not as swollen as you, so I could not put on your shirt and make it look the same. That's a false expectation that'll pretty much ruin me because I will never be satisfied. And then at the end of the day, I'll never put the shirt on because I can't make it look half as good as Chad. So that's where a lot of young people mess up when it comes to being sold out for Jesus. They don't realize that their faith is supposed to look like their faith and not their mama's faith. Yours, it's a constant growth. It's a constant growth process. When you plant a tree, you can't just expect it to sprout like that and give you fruit. It's going to take time. It's going to take a process, and it's going to take work for you planting or watering the plant for the tree to sprout and then produce fruit. And so not only know that your faith is identically designed to be your faith, but two, understanding that it's going to take work and you've got to be persistent. But number three, and most importantly, you've got to be all in. You have to be. So one of the things in my first few tryouts with Sword Dunk, they tell you, you've got to be all in. You can't run as fast as you can at the trampoline, slow down, and kind of bunny hop on it for it to shoot you to the goal. Because I don't know if you've ever seen a show or anything, but you take myself and some of my teammates, we could jump so high and tap our feet on the rim.
Really? Wow.
Oh yeah. I mean, there are even a lot of shows where I'd be able to jump as high enough to put one of my feet standing on the rim, grab the top of the backboard, and stand on the rim and wave at people.
Wow.
And so in order to do that, you got to be all in. You can't second guess yourself. You can't misstep. You can't go half speed. You've got to be full speed, all in. Trust yourself. Trust the trampoline to do what it's designed to do, which is to shoot you up and out to be able to dunk a basketball. And so where that relates with our faith, you got to be all in with Jesus, regardless of whether you're on the mountaintop or in the valley. You can't just be a fair weather fan that when things are good, I'm the biggest Christian, I'm the next Tim Tebow, I'm all this, I'm taking a knee, I'm praying, and I'm prophesying, and I'm doing all this stuff. And then something bad happens. Man, bum Jesus. You don't understand. You have to be consistent. You have to be completely 100% sold out, because reality is Christianity and walking in faith with Jesus Christ hand in hand is not easy. It's not. You go back to that when Jesus told Peter to step out and walk on the water. When he was all in and his focus was solely on Jesus, he walked on water. But when he took his eyes off and he wasn't on anymore, the man sank and had to be saved by Jesus. So where that correlates with your faith, regardless of whatever's going on in your life, you've got to be 100% focused on Jesus at all times, completely sold out, completely ready for everything that he's got for you, whether it's good or bad, pointing it back to Jesus, the author and finisher of your faith. So those are the three things, man. Know that it's uniquely designed to be your faith and your faith journey, because it's not going to look like everybody else's, and being confident in that. And dang, I can't remember the second one because I went so long.
Hey, you killing it, man.
But lastly, man, just knowing that you got to be all in. You got to be all in.
And bro, in a little bit of time we know each other, I know that you're all in, and your faith is strong, and you are created to be fearfully and wonderfully in every area that God puts you in, because there's two things God tells us to do. He tells us to love him with all our heart, soul, and strength, and he also tells us to love our neighbor as ourselves. And I truly know that you're on that path of continue to grow your identity, continue to grow yourself, uh, mentally, physically, emotionally, impacting your mind, your willpower, and your emotions through Christ. And I'm just so blessed to be in your presence, to be able to call you a brother, to be on your path. And God's not finished yet. We still got breath in our bodies. So there's still so much more for us to do for our communities, for our families. I'm so excited for you and where you're going with your family and the little ones on the way. And dude, you're doing so much good in the world. And I can see the energy and the light just boosting off of you through this screen right now. I just want you to know that. And gosh, man, I'm just so excited to see what's to come for you. Keep shining that light. I'm so excited, like I said, to have you on this show and to be able just to have this conversation. And I know there's somebody, I know I took a lot from it. I'm going to go back and watch the replay. I'm about to get some stuff down and really cultivate on it. But if somebody was looking at you right now, whether it's a parent, teacher, youth advocate, or a black young man right now,